Hey, Nidstang here. Today the Xbox conference for 2020 was shown. I've already talked about the PlayStation and PC Gamer Show conferences as well as Devolvers, so I wanted to talk about Xboxes as well. So I was actually looking forward to the Xbox conference quite a bit. In my opinion, Xbox had the most to prove. I own an Xbox One and it just kind of sits there. I don't use it a whole lot, and there really weren't that many games for it that I wanted to get that I couldn't also get on PC. Throughout the extent of the console, I think there were the three collections that interested me: Halo, Gears of War, and Rare Replay. I was also interested in Sunset Overdrive, and then Gears of War Tactics, which just recently came out, and then Cuphead and Ori. Most of those which are also on PC and Switch, and the only one that I can't get on PC is the Rare Replay collection. So as a whole, Xbox really struggled this generation in my opinion, and because of that I was really interested to see how they would come out, swinging out of the gates with the Xbox X, I guess is what they're calling it, going forward. I was, of course, interested in Halo Infinite. I love Halo 1 through 3. Wasn't that big on 4 and didn't even bother with 5, but I was interested in seeing what they would do with Infinite. I was hoping it would be a bit of a return to form. So needless to say, I was looking forward to this conference just to kind of see what Xbox had to offer. They were promising a whole bunch of games, and we finally got it. So, let's dive in. So, Xbox did in fact come out swinging out the gate with the gameplay footage of Halo Infinite. Once again, big Halo 1 through 3 fan. Halo 3 finally just came out on PC, and that is fucking awesome. But like I also said, I wasn't big on Halo 4. I didn't even bother with Halo 5. Dennis played Halo 5, didn't really like it. And just from what I had seen from other reviewers and footage that I had seen of the game, it just really didn't look like it felt like Halo. It's one of the things I think 343 struggles the most with is maintaining Halo's identity. Halo 1 through 3 have a very strong identity. Those three games look and feel like Halo, through and through. Reach, again, looks like Halo, and I like Reach, but that was kind of the beginning of the Call of Duty-ifying for the franchise that I think 343 just kind of took and ran with. Some things I was hoping to see with this Halo Infinite gameplay reveal was no loadouts for multiplayer. They didn't show any multiplayer, so everything was based on single player. Also, I was hoping that they would increase the base movement speed back to how like it was in Halo 1, 2, and 3. Yes, Halo isn't Doom. I recognize that, and while I personally prefer arena shooters and fast-paced shooters like Doom and Quake, I still love Halo. And yes, Halo 3 isn't as fast as Doom, but it's still faster than what 343 games have been putting out. So I was hoping to see an increase in the base movement speed and also the removal of the sprint feature. I think with the sprint, it just kind of slows the game down and ruins the momentum of what made the original 3 Halo games Halo. Unfortunately, they didn't do that. The movement speed is still slow, like in Halo 4 and 5, and there's still the sprint. On top of that, they made it open world, which I know they kind of alluded to when they first announced the game, but now looking at it firsthand, I'm not feeling it. It kind of reminds me of Rage 2, and I am actually one of like the 10 people on the planet that like Rage 2, but it's not what I want from Halo. And so from the gameplay footage, we see, this open world, Master Chief's driving around on a Warthog to different places on this giant map, taking over command posts that are, run by Covenant. I'm sure there's going to be like upgrades and side quests and things like that. And I don't know, it does not feel or look like Halo to me. And I'm a little disappointed with it because of that. That said, the actual shooting looks pretty good. I like that they brought the old school classic design to the Master Chief armor back. I think and hope that the art direction will at the very least go back to the classic 1 through 3 style instead of 4 and 5's kind of like sleeker, cleaner look. I just didn't like that art style as much, and from that perspective, it looks like Infinite is doing a better job. And also, I like the grappling hook. I know that that's a little bit of a controversial thing right now, but considering how much I absolutely love Doom Eternal, I think that this is going to be a new trend. Shadow Warrior 3 has shown that they have a grapple hook, and now Halo Infinite shows that they have a grapple hook. Judging from Doom Eternal, with my opinion, grapple hook just adds another layer of mobility and technicality to the game, which is always a plus in my book, and so I really don't have any complaints about including the grapple hook. I just wish that the rest of the game looked a little bit more Halo-y. I'm still probably going to buy the game because it is Halo, and I am interested to see what they do with it. But I'm also might wait for some reviews from like Actman, or even wait and see if Juan Snow gets it and see what he says, because just early impressions, it's not the return to form that I was hoping to see. After that, there were a bunch of games that I don't feel too strongly about. State of Decay 3, another zombie game, don't care. Forza, I'm not a big racing guy unless it's Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing or Jack X, so again, don't really care. Everwild looks interesting. It's made by Rare. I love Rare. You know, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong Country, some of my favorite games of all time. So I always love seeing Rare working on new stuff. I like the art direction of this game and the aesthetic. It looks cartoony and colorful, and I like that. There was no gameplay shown, so that's kind of a faux pas for me. So while I'm interested in it, I don't feel too strongly about it until I see some more gameplay, or see some gameplay in general. Hopefully they'll show that soon. But yeah, it's on my radar to at least look into. After that was a narrative game called Tell Me Why, which, you know, I'm not that big on narrative games, so I'm not really interested in that. Then we got a Ori Will of the Wisp remaster announcement. I surprisingly have not played any of the Ori games. They are very high on my list to get to playing. They look great. I love the art style and art direction of those games, and being such a huge Hollow Knight fan, I know I'm going to like Ori because they look similar, not only from an art direction, but from a gameplay perspective. And I have been meaning to get to playing Ori for years, but I have just not gotten to it. Maybe this will be an excuse for me to get into it. But yeah, Ori remaster. After that, Outer Worlds Gorgon DLC was shown. I have not played Outer Worlds, so I wasn't really that interested in the DLC. Then there was a new Obsidian game called Grounded. It looks interesting. It's a kind of multiplayer sandbox survival kind of game, which isn't typically my cup of tea, but I like this game's aesthetic, and I like the like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids setting. It's different, it's unique, and I think it looks pretty cool from that perspective. But again, I'm not the biggest on survival games, so I don't really know if I'm going to pick it up, but regardless, I think it looks pretty decent. Then there was another Obsidian game called Avowed. There wasn't a whole lot of gameplay shown of it, so I don't really feel that strongly about it. But it basically looks like their take on a Skyrim-like first-person RPG kind of a thing. Looks okay, I guess. Then they showed this game as Dusk Falls, which they're describing as an interactive drama. It kind of looks like one of those, you know, interactive storybook kind of things where there's no real gameplay to it. Not really my thing, to be completely honest. It's a visual novel without the anime titties, so like, what's the point? Then they showed Hellblade 2, or at least talked about Hellblade 2, which I, again, haven't really played the first Hellblade, so I wasn't that interested. So yeah, they started the show off with just a lot of stuff that I didn't think looked that great and just wasn't that interested in. Not a whole lot of gameplay shown for some of these. Just was starting to feel like let down a little bit. But then, Psychonauts 2, baby. Psychonauts looks great. I love the first one. It's an old school collectathon platformer type game. I've been hyped for the second one since they announced it years ago, but I have not heard or seen a lot about it. Finally showed a gameplay trailer. Jack Black is doing music for it. Gameplay looks great. Art style looks great. It's also going to be coming out on Switch, PS4, and PC, which surprised me because I thought Double Fine was purchased by Microsoft, so I thought that this was going to be a Xbox and PC exclusive, but I guess it is coming out for Switch and PS, I guess 5 or PS4, also PlayStation. Regardless, Psychonauts 2 looks amazing. It's going to be a purchase for me. Can't wait for it. Then they revealed Destiny 2 was coming to Game Pass, which I don't give a shit about Destiny. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 had a teaser. I haven't played S.T.A.L.K.E.R. They look pretty cool, though. I know they're kind of survival horror, but they look and remind me of Fallout, and I like Fallout. I've been meaning to get to playing S.T.A.L.K.E.R. I haven't done it. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 reveal looks interesting. Warhammer 40k Darktide was then announced. I am somebody who is interested in Warhammer but has never taken the dive. It's a little intimidating knowing how many books and video games and how long this history is, plus the miniature board game. It's a series that I've always found interesting and wanted to get into, but have just been too intimidated to dive into. Kind of like EVE Online. I love reading stories about it online, but I'm always hesitant to play it myself. Regardless, teaser for Warhammer 40k Darktide. I hope they show some more gameplay soon. It looks like it's going to be a survival horror shooter kind of a thing. But yeah, so there was that. Then there was a new Tetris Effect game, which it's Tetris. I love Tetris, but it's just another Tetris. Then there was a game called the Gunk, which I actually think looks pretty cool. It's a little hard to tell what it is from the gameplay shown, but I think it's going to be some sort of like action platformer game with this puzzle element regarding the gunk that you have to seemingly collect or manipulate in some way. I like the art direction of it a lot, and I'm going to keep my eye open for more about that. Then there was a game called The Medium, which I'm actually kind of interested in, surprisingly. It's a third-person horror game. It looks kind of like slower, narrative-driven, which is typically not my thing, but I do really like horror games, and I think, you know, horror is one of the genres that can pull off that slower gameplay well, if it's done well. One thing I really liked about that is they had this like dual world thing going on where you're playing through the eyes of two characters in two environments at the same time. Looks really cool. It shows up as like a split screen thing, so you're gonna have to like perform puzzles or, you know, platforming or combat or whatever in two different worlds at the same time. Seems really interesting. It's not something I've really seen before, so I'm interested to see what more of the gameplay looks like, but I definitely like the idea of it. Then they showed Phantasy Star Online 2. Again, I've never played a Phantasy Star game, but this looks awesome. It's a fast, action-oriented MMO, I think, but it looks great. I am definitely interested in it. I think it's also coming to PC, which is probably where I would play it. But yeah, it looks cool. I like the like mecha design. When I first saw it, I thought it was like a Xenoblade port or something like that, just from the art direction. But yeah, it looks cool. I'm interested in that. Then there was a game called Crossfire, which when they first showed the trailer, I thought it was just kind of this generic modern military shooter thing, and I wasn't really all that interested in it. But then about halfway through, there was like a guy in a power suit, and he was like throwing knives around, and it looked kind of almost like Crysis to me. So it's piqued my interest more once I saw that. But I need to see more gameplay and see if you know what kind of shooter it really is. But at the very least, it has piqued my interest. After that, the only other game that they showed was a teaser for a new Fable, which, I mean, Fable is an alright series, but they had, again, no gameplay. It's just the name that popped up. Yeah, kind of weak, in my opinion. Still no news on the Delicious Last Course for Cuphead. That was another thing I was hoping that they would give a release date for. I feel like we've been waiting for this for a very long time, especially for a DLC for an indie game. It just feels like they're taking forever with it. I really want to see like what's going on, and I'd love to hear some more information about when this is coming out. Hopefully it comes out soon, but yeah, there was no information about Cuphead, which was a huge disappointment. That said, probably the highlight and best thing that Xbox could be doing right now is what they announced with their Game Pass. I don't really use a lot of subscription services, but Game Pass is one that, you know, at the very least, people who use it get value for using it. It's relatively cheap, and you get a huge library of Xbox One games, and they announced that you're going to get the entire library of Xbox Series X games for it, which is pretty cool. A lot of the games that you get on Xbox One are going to be upgraded for free into Xbox Series X versions as well, which is a good move on their part. So from a business consumer standpoint, Xbox is definitely doing the right thing there, and that is really cool to see. But as a whole, the conference felt a little lackluster, especially comparing it to the PlayStation conference from a couple months ago. You know, that conference had a new Sackboy game, Ghostwire Tokyo shown, Astro's Playroom, Bugsnax, the Demon's Souls remake. All those games just look really good, and even Ratchet & Clank, which I loved, which was a little disappointing of a trailer. Compared that to a disappointing Halo trailer, and then a kind of teaser for a new Rare game, and then a finally showcase of Psychonauts 2. I don't know, it was just, there wasn't as much shown in this Xbox conference that has me as hyped as that the PlayStation one does. That said, I love that all of Xbox's games are also coming to PC. As a primarily PC gamer, that's awesome. It lets me continue to play the franchises I love, and even the new games that do look interesting without needing to invest in a console for only a couple of games. So I appreciate that, and I'd love to see Sony start to do that more too, because as a whole, I'm not that into the PS5 either, but at least they have a lot of new games announced that look really good. Comparing the three, I'm still the most interested in the Switch. I know I was critical of the Switch when it was first announced, but it has become one of my favorite consoles of all time, and it is my most used console behind my PC. So I definitely love it. I like the PS4, and I think the Xbox One is fine. I don't really use my Xbox One, it just kind of collects dust, and I really only use my PS4 for exclusive titles or, I don't know, just random games that I buy on it. But I definitely get more use out of my PC and Switch, and so for that, you know, the PS5 just looks like another PS4, and the Xbox X just looks like another Xbox One. And so between the three, I definitely like the Switch best and think Nintendo came out on top there. That said, there are some good games coming out. So what do you think of the Xbox conference that aired today? Are there any games that you're excited about? What do you think of the new Halo? That's probably going to be the biggest topic for the next couple of days. Do you think I'm a little harsh on it? Do you think that it is a return to form? Or do you think that 343 has just pushed it so far away that it has lost its identity? Regardless, we'll see where it is in the upcoming months. Until next time, bye.